Evening, everybody. I'll call to order the town board meeting for March 22nd, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. As always, we are live streaming our meeting. We're conducting it via Zoom. It's going to Facebook, YouTube, and our website. If you're interested in participating in the meeting or just watching via Zoom, you've got the instructions at the top of each of our agendas. So I will ask Deputy Supervisor Bollinger to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
The United States of America, and to the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So a small adjustment to the agenda to kick off the meeting. We're going to roll right into item number 4, the appointment of the interim police chief. So as we dealt with the resignation of the outgoing chief at our special meeting last week, we have an agreement in front of us for contract for temporary employment for the interim police chief for Jason Casalia. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions, any concerns? Okay.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, this is great.
Do we need a motion?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to authorize. I'd like to make a motion to approve the interim police chief agreement. This authorizes the supervisor to sign the interim police chief agreement between Jason Casalia and the town of Manlius as presented to the town board.
Second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And with that, I have the agreement here signed by Mr. Casalia. I will sign that agreement right now.
Okay, since you both have signed, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jason Casalia as the interim police chief of the town of Manlius Police Department as set forth in the interim police chief agreement. And before I do this, are you going to be making any more remarks about Jason?
After we.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure.
A few comments.
That's my motion.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so before we vote, I want to say that we've had a pretty extensive opportunity to get to know Jason Casalia and understand his role in helping us as interim police chief. We are very excited, I will say, to kind of embark on this next step. One of the primary things that we're going to be looking at here is kind of reassessing the job description for chief of police, better understanding our department as it is in modern policing, and really endeavor to build a process so that as we move forward, we're including the whole community, the village mayors, the police committee, the superintendents, residents, in really understanding what we're going to be looking for in that long-term police chief solution. So with that, I'll ask all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So
Yeah, we're going to.
if you'd like to come up.
Sir, just stand right here. And if you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jason Casalia,
I, Jason Casalia,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of interim police chief
the duties of interim police chief
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna see it for you right there. Thank you very much. We'll probably do that. Okay. So back to the agenda. So we have a podium. This is an opportunity for residents to come speak to the board, ask a question, share any concerns. We do have one person signed up for open podium. So just a reminder, there's about 3 minutes per person. We try to keep this segment to about 15 minutes. So just please be respectful of other people's time if they're interested in speaking. But first up, I will ask Grant Bruin, speaking on the police chief resignation.
You actually kind of addressed a couple of things in what you said a couple moments ago, so I do appreciate that, Supervisor. I've timed this, so hopefully I'll stick to my 3 minutes or whatever, and I'll try not to rock the boat. Supervisor Deere, Deputy Supervisor Bollinger, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you tonight saddened and troubled by the recent turn of events surrounding now former Police Chief Michael Crowell. I am particularly concerned by the manner in which the board took action surrounding his appointment, a recent special meeting lasting no more than 15 minutes, whereby a statement was read accepting his resignation, with both parties agreeing the separation was, quote, mutual and amicable, close quote, all while wanting to take the police department in a different direction. This begs the question, what exactly occurred to prompt all this? And according to the terms of the separation resignation agreement, we as citizens and taxpayers will never actually know. I draw the attention of the board to section 9 of the non-disclosure and non-disparagement agreement. It states, quote, parties agreed not to disclose the town's concerns about employees' conduct and performance, or the settlement terms for this agreement, or any information regarding the matters discussed as part of a potential performance improvement plan with any person or entity, including in any form of media whatsoever, close quote. That language in itself is concerning to me, given the fact that we, as taxpaying members of the community, have a right to know about the decisions being made by those in positions of power. That does not mean having an executive session whereby a decision was made without the public being able to know what first prompted this turn of events. I thereby challenge the board, tell us what brought about this severing of Mr. Crowell as police chief, or allow Mr. Crowell himself to explain what happened. And by that, I mean beyond the approved talking points with him and the board as outlined in attachment B of the agreement. You as servants of the town owe it not only to your constituents, but more so to yourselves, especially given the fact that I voted for you and I put my trust in you. And I don't know if that trust has been broken or not, and all I'm asking for is openness and transparency. I thank the board for listening. I ask my comments be entered into the record. I yield the balance of my time.
Thank you very much.
Would you like a copy?
Actually, thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Okay, do we have anyone else here in person who's here for open podium? And then if there is anybody in attendance via Zoom, who's here for open podium, please use the raise hand function and we'll get to you after we make it through a few folks, here in the boardroom.
Good evening, everyone. For those that don't know, I'm Tim Kelly, I live at 217 Homewood Drive in Fayetteville. To echo what Mr. DeBruin said, and thank you for your comments, I concur. For a board that ran on transparency, you owe it to the citizens of this community to explain it. I have a few questions, if you wouldn't mind. Is the 1984 intermunicipal police agreement still in place?
Do we have to, are we going to be engaging during?
I think what we'll do is we'll take all the questions and we'll work on something after that.
Okay, I'm okay with that. All right, if so, why were the mayors or the police committee not involved in the process? And then finally, will the police committee and the mayors be involved in the selection process for the next chief? I believe that's something that you owe to the residents.
Absolutely. So I'll go through those. The 1984 agreement is in place. To some extent, there is conversations about the validity of it, how it's being enforced. That agreement does spell out that resignations are meant to be delivered to the board. So that's why it was handled the way it is. And as far as next steps and finding that long-term solution for chief of police, I spoke with the mayors just before, let them know that we'll be including them and the police committee, as well as the school superintendents and the community at large in that process. And we're looking forward to Chief Casalia helping us kind of define that process and make sure that we're doing our due diligence with his extensive experience.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arnie Poltenson, and my wife and I have lived in the town of Manlius for 60 years. A few years ago, when you were campaigning to be elected, you spoke of transparency in government, open meetings that would be recorded so that residents could view them at home. You advocated for renewable energy sources, more green spaces, sidewalks, and a comprehensive town plan. The voters liked your platform and elected you to govern. I want to address the transparency plank in your platform. While the board certainly has the authority to hire and fire employees of the town, the recent sudden retirement of the police chief has left me and many other residents very uncomfortable. The placing of a gag order on the details of the separation leaves everyone in the dark as to why. The terms of the settlement leave a cloud over the chief's head with no explanation of what caused the town to dismiss him. It's hard to imagine how we can have such an outstanding police department while having a chief who's not allowed on town-owned property without notice and an escort. Transparency should work in both directions. I think it should not be clear in one direction and obscured in the other. I think you might reconsider your position on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Allison.
Is there anyone else? Anyone else here?
My name is Dave Barnwell. I live in Walton Drive, in Maryland. I just have one question about, there's been back and forth about the mutual aid agreement. If there was any more on that, if it was gonna be signed or not in the town.
Can I?
We're talking about the MOU?
Steve, did you happen to follow the police committee meeting where Mayor Olson attended and brought that up? You didn't?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll recap that in that conversation, Tim brought up a very practical matter that stands, which is that at the time that the chief had brought up the MOU, the board had asked a series of questions and had brought before him the fact that we had a law on the books that would need to be revoked or rescinded or changed in order to sign the MOU. So those were the pieces there. So the two pieces that we had questions about were really our liability and what sort of risk we were taking on. And so we had some insurance questions, which we have not resolved. And we don't have any legislation right now to reverse the law that we have to allow us to sign the MOU. But we're also in a situation where we have a brand new interim police chief. So we have to also weigh having somebody who certainly isn't going to stop the process, but should be able to confer with us on this issue and the police committee.
So we're no further.
But did you,
So-
but you were wondering about what?
Yeah.
There is a very specific legal question that I have as it relates to what the agreement says, which is that that we would transfer responsibility from the town of Manlius to the that the people who were receiving benefits from the town would not be responsible for the conduct of our officers when they go to different municipality. And the agreement actually transfers that back to the town and says, we would be responsible for sending officers to another municipality if they request services. That is in contrast to what the state law says. So until we resolve that issue.
Yeah, so we haven't resolved, that's what I'm saying.
No, that issue,
So,
that,
we've
that,
talked about
frankly,
it.
that issue is still. Should the taxpayers of the town of Manlius be responsible for our officers who go to help another municipality or under the command and control of a different municipality, should they be exposed to liability for action they take under the command of a different authority? That's the issue.
And as far as the spirit of the MOU, we have on the books a law that allows us to respond to mutual aid requests without having the Manlius taxpayers responsible for whatever happens during that request. So as far as the spirit and helping out and
And at
working,
the discretion of the chief.
and at the discretion of the chief, working together, we are committed to that. As far as this particular MOU, the way that it's formatted, we have a legal issue with it.
So are you not going to pursue it, or is it still?
We are
you
still committed to mutual aid.
Well, we literally have a law in place in the town of Manlius that says we can provide mutual aid to other municipalities. And the chief of police in the town of Manlius makes the call as to whether or not to provide mutual aid. We're one of, I think, 2 towns in Onondaga County that actually has a local law that allows that. So the ultimate question is, do we need to enter into a mutual aid agreement since our local law already provides?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we've got someone in attendance via Zoom. And then is there anyone else, just show of hands, who's here to speak at open podium still? Okay,
Should let, Karen know that.
Karen, you should be able to speak.
Hi, thank you for taking me. I have a question follow up on what Dave Barnwell was just saying about the mutual aid agreement. How does that differ from our volunteer fire, our fire department and our EMTs expanding their, because of our short staff on all fire and ambulance and police, they're all responding to a larger geographic area. How are we how is it any different with the police and not signing a formal agreement?
Well, so as Attorney Frataski just said, we have a law on the books that enables us to respond to mutual aid requests at the discretion of the chief of police. The discrepancy with the MOU that was proposed for the folks, for the agencies that don't have that law in place, changes the liability situation. So we in our opinion, we are fully participating in mutual aid. We have been, that law has been on the books for quite a while. So when it comes to the spirit of helping out other agencies and protecting the larger community that we're a part of, we are committed to that. We have been committed to that. That law has been on the books. And so as far as the specifics with fire and EMS, those are handled by the villages. I'm not well phrased on exactly how that works. But again, so just reaffirm, the town of Manlius Police Department is participating in the ability to provide mutual aid when requested at the discretion of the police. All we do is follow state law by ensuring that when our officers go and respond to another community and they're under the command of a different agency, that the requesting agency takes on that liability so that the taxpayers in the town of Manlius aren't footing the bill for what happens when we are being part of that larger community and helping out. As far as being able to respond though, we've been able to, we will continue to be able to, and that will not change.
As long as we're not shifting the responsibility to our police officers themselves or individuals, it's covered. I'm still not completely.
No.
Another question, you had discussed a change in the job description for police of chief. When will the newly revised description of what a police chief in Manlius is, and will we get a chance to see or have a discussion of how Chief Kroll didn't fit that new description? I understand significant change in policing when safety is of utmost concern in New York State.
Well, as far as the timeline, we don't have one defined, but as I stated before, and I've been speaking with the media about, we are committed to engaging the entire community in that assessment, in that redefinition. We're going to be working with our partners in the villages, the police committee, the superintendents, and the residents directly. I can't speak to exactly how that looks. That's going to be one of the main things that we work on with Chief Casalia moving forward. But we will be committed to getting that out and having those conversations. So something that we tend to do quite a bit around here is have work sessions. These are more informal meetings that we can kind of hash through and have more frank conversations outside of an official board meeting. We tend to do these at 5 p.m. Before our first meeting of the month. For example, we've done these on regulations. We've done them, we have one coming up about the comprehensive plan. We did one about the comprehensive plan and zoning. And I would imagine that there will be a work session that'll be published. We'll have in the meeting minutes on the agenda that we'll be scheduling that meeting. And that'll likely be the first opportunity where we can start having those conversations, and those meetings are open to the public, and we encourage the public to attend those.
May I also say,
Karen,
may I also say there's a practical matter of also looking at the existing job description. It's also about updating, not just necessarily going to, we're not starting from scratch here. And I think that that's a really important point. We're doing our due diligence and making sure we involve the community.
And that's in line with the commitment we've had since we did the Public Safety Advisory Committee. We put together an incredibly diverse slate of residents to have really frank and honest conversations that were all shared via our website and put on social media. We've got a report that we're going to be considering throughout this process. And like I said, those meetings will be open to the public. They will be live streamed so people can participate via Zoom. And so we look forward to that collaboration.
Thank you. I will definitely be participating, but I would like to go on record as saying that I believe that as a town, we're putting the horse before the cart in us accepting Chief Kroll's resignation before we've established a job description that he may or may not have fit. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. Was there anyone else on Zoom that liked an opportunity to speak at open podium?
There's a comment.
So with the resignation of the chief, what is the new direction the board is planning? So in line with what we heard from the Public Safety Advisory Committee, in our own experience in working with the police department, we want to renew our commitment to engaging with the community, making sure that the police department is meeting the needs of modern policing and serving our residents directly and being responsive. And we saw with the recent incident at Tops, we've got young officers that are finding new ways to keep us safe. And the reason that we were able to respond to that quickly is because, we are always asking ourselves, how can we be better? How can we do better? And so we're going to continue that and reaffirm that through this assessment and through the new job description. And when we start that search, we're going to make sure that we've got the whole community engaged to make sure that we're finding the right chief for the town of Manlius Police Department. Okay. Seeing no other comments for open podium. Let's move on. So number 5, nuisance property report for 607 Washington Boulevard. We've got Code Enforcement Officer Tom Poitras here to present his report.
Supervisor Beer, members of the board. I'm here to summarize the inspection report that was provided pursuant to Chapter 63 for the properties located at 607 Washington Boulevard and 606 Cleveland Boulevard. I am requesting the town board approve the removal of the structures, including approximately a 12 by 12 structure and a lean-to on the property. The structures on the property are unlawful, and the reason for why the structures are not and cannot be lawfully erected are detailed in the provided report. The aforesaid structures are also dangerous and unsafe. It has been documented that the property owner is using the structures as a dwelling unit. The structures do not provide the minimum safeguards to protect or warn the occupant in the event of fire, and the structures do not being used as a dwelling unit, lack of permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation as permitted in New York State Uniform Code. Does anybody have any questions regarding the report?
I do, Tom. I know, just anecdotally speaking with you, that there have been numerous occasions where we as a town have reached out to this property owner for corrective measures prior to coming to this point. Could you just summarize what the outcome of those attempts have been? If any.
We had taken the property owner to court, and there was an order in the court that was not resolved. So now we've taken it here. I was working with the individual regarding the development. He was here before the town board.
Yes.
Also, so we have been working with him, trying to outline what is allowed within our code.
Has there been any response from the property owner to this recent notice of violation?
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What are the additional steps that we're sort of responsible to take as community members who are concerned about a person who is not communicating with us, is not compliant with court orders, is losing a structure that they're living in or using as residents at some point? What do we think as a board are our responsibilities? And I really direct that to you, William, because Councilor Nicholson, given your expertise.
So my brief encounters with the individual in question lead me to believe that there's more going on than just an adventure, a sense of adventure and wanting to live, off grid. There seems to be some mental health concerns. And I propose that, he be referred to Liberty Resources or some other mental health provider prior to, heavy-handed legal process, if that were available to us.
I would expect pursuant to chapter 63, after we serve the paperwork, that if we do not hear anything, we could, or if we do hear something, we would be able to take the next steps accordingly on how that is received.
And that was the impetus for my question on whether there's been any response from this individual yet so far. It's difficult to provide assistance to folks who don't engage at all with us.
And I
Nothing
know-
that has resulted in trying to gain compliance with local ordinance or state codes.
So just for the board's station, we're talking about a 12 by 12 lean-to that's on the property that needs to be removed because it's an unsafe building based on the code enforcement officer. So what I have prepared for tonight are two resolutions. The first resolution will basically begin the process to notify the individual that the town board is aware of this and that they want some action to be taken between now and 30 days.
Sure.
So if no action is taken between now and 30 days to remedy the violation, then we will hold a public hearing. That will allow the individual to come and speak to the board and explain why he doesn't believe he's in violation of our unsafe building code. Then you would make a determination after that public hearing as to whether or not you want to take the required steps to remove that structure from that property.
In the meantime, is there the opportunity, William, to sort of identify resources or organizations that could intervene independently of the town board?
There absolutely are, yes, and I understand from this notice of code violation that there is a mailing, there's an address of record for this individual in Syracuse, where he might receive mail. So we can, I will take that on.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
can forward whatever other contact information I have.
Please do, yeah, thank you. Understanding we have a certain amount of time to perhaps find a better resolution for both the town and its neighbors and this individual who may be in ascending some type of crisis.
So do we need a motion? So I'm just want to confirm the motion to authorize the removal and or demolition. Just in reviewing the resolution, it says that the town board hereby authorizes the town clerk and or the code enforcement officer to issue the notice of violation and order attached to this resolution as exhibit B. So the motion isn't necessarily that we're going to go and remove it. It's that we're going to issue the notice of violation and order.
Right, and the notice is that you have 30 days to
Right.
come into compliance.
I'm just confused about the language of the motion that's written here.
Okay.
Motion to authorize the removal. Could we amend that to say authorize to issue the notice of violation and order?
Yes, you can absolutely say what you just said.
Okay,
That's because the resolution has been prepared,
Mhm.
so it's
Correct.
before you, you can simply vote to approve the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town. But feel free to use that language.
Does anyone else have any questions? I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town clerk and the code enforcement officer to issue the notice of violation and order attached to this resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have a presentation regarding Sustainable Manlius Earth Fest.
For those of you who don't attend our meetings terribly often, my name is Caitlin Creasel, obviously a member of the board, and I chair our sustainability committee, Sustainable Manlius. And we started in 2021 when everything was still over Zoom. We started Earth Fest, and that was fully remote. We had 5 webinars over the course of the 5 Thursdays in the month of April, highlighting different subjects related to environmental sustainability and climate action. And then last year, we were able to hold the first in-person event, which we did at the Fayetteville Library on the last Saturday of April. So we're really excited to be holding our second in-person event, third event overall, Earth Fest 2023. And Elaine is my co-chair on the Sustainable Manlius Committee. We were supposed to have a presentation this evening from Fred Polhamus, who is a resident of the village of Fayetteville. And he is the chair of the Earth Fest committee, but unfortunately he had a conflict and was unable to attend this evening. So this event will be primarily an electric vehicle show where you can come and see all sorts of different electric vehicles. There will be the opportunity for test drives, which last year we weren't able to do, but this year we will have that opportunity. I think right now we have just around 20 cars registered, but last year we had an influx right within that last week. So we're hoping to have 50 cars. Our head sponsor is Kia of East Syracuse, so it's officially the Kia of East Syracuse Earth Fest event. And there's going to be dozens of organizations that will have booths that you can visit. There will be the encouragement of folks to bike to the event, and we'll have opportunities to be rewarded for biking to the event. And we'll also have an electric bus that will be serving as a what's it called? Shuttle. Thank you. I keep wanting to say chauffeur, and that is now they technically will be chauffeuring you, but it'll give you the opportunity to ride on an electric bus, which I'm really excited to see if it looks like a regular bus or if it looks different. No, we'll see. To be determined. We'll have activities for children. Music. Yep, we'll have entertainment, music. We'll have food trucks. So last year we had around 500 people, and this year our goal is 2,000 people. That will be occurring in the village of Fayetteville, at the park. What's that called, Elaine? Thank you so much. This is such a great team, since I keep forgetting the words I'm supposed to say. At Canal Landing Park, and that'll be on April 29th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And there will be a lot of information coming out, so make sure you follow the Sustainable Manlius social media channels. We'll be marketing this event on radio, social media posts. We'll be boosting, and we'll have advertisements in the Eagle Bulletin. So we're really trying to get the word out about this event. So I would encourage you to attend. It's going to be really cool, and hopefully we'll be able to get some electric vehicles sold. We'll also be highlighting some very important work that Councilor Denton did in helping to get some electric vehicle charging stations installed here at Town Hall, and they are operating in our back parking lot just over there. So if you have an electric vehicle, you can charge right here at Town Hall. Am I missing anything important?
You sent everyone the list of expenditures. And I think we got a prepared motion to accept that. Did everybody have an opportunity to review that?
Yeah, I think I just want to comment and say what's remarkable is that you've raised grant funding and sponsorship for this event.
This event is fully offset by sponsorship. We didn't even have to use our grant funds, fully offset, and we'll continue to have new booths come in. So it'll end up being a fundraising event for the town. And our committee has raised around $50,000 in grant funds that we're able to use for community events such as this, and to promote environmental sustainability and take on environmental sustainability projects. And that includes making our buildings more energy efficient, which saves the town money, putting in LED streetlights, which saves the town money. Like, there are all opportunities. All of the work that we've done has leveraged these grant funds to improve the quality of life and the bottom line, the financial bottom line for the town. So we're excited to continue pursuing this work. This is our flagship event. If you want to join the committee, we meet on the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. Right here at Town Hall. And there's also the option to Zoom. So you can reach me at kcreasel@townofmanlius.org. This is for the media too. Please feel free to put this on the news tonight. So we'll be happy to have anyone who wants to join.
I'm thinking about the fact that we've got those support from Senator Mannion for an electric police car. Even though the car itself isn't going to be available, we can talk offline about briefing Chief Casalia about that, but also maybe information about what's coming in that regard, so that people can take a look at.
There's also technology that we've been looking at that would help certain police vehicles could install it into the vehicle, and it would make it so when they have to idle, it's saving gas and it will help the cars to last longer. So there's all sorts of different technologies that, whether or not climate change is a top 5 issue for you or not, that help to save the town money and help us to save money in the long term. So that's really the, one of the most important parts of the work that we're doing. Did you have something to add? You have, after Heather said something, you look like you wanted to say something. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions on Earth Fest?
So I would make a motion to approve the list of expenditures from the Sustainable Manlius Publicity Fund as presented by Council Friesen.
Second.
Just for the board, there's a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, it looks like 20 items that equal about 11,000. They're the largest is for radio marketing at 3,700.
And will very likely end up coming underneath this budget. We wanted to not have to come back to the board for every single thing that we're trying to purchase over and above $250. So this allows us to not bother you week after week. But it's very likely the fact that it will not cost as much, and then we'll have even more money to spend on other initiatives.
And it is fully covered by sponsorship.
Fully covered by the sponsorships, yeah. And Kia v Syracuse will be running ads on their own dime outside of this on the Cumulus radio station. So they're pursuing that separately. So it's the largest Earth Month event in the county. So we're, for a committee that was started in 2020, we're really proud of the work that we've been able to do.
So Caitlin, if I remember correctly, last year's was a great event. I remember I rode my bike there, I think. But,
Yeah.
that with 500 in attendance, with a budget that was not much lower than this year. It's remarkable. If we can get the 2,000 attendees through all of these great steps, it would be truly something to be proud of. It's a very lean, economical way of running an event. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's the most forward-facing thing that the town does, probably outside of our police department and our recreation department. So it's been really exciting for a committee that's young to be doing something. Am I missing any other departments?
Yes, I recognize trustee Mark.
As soon as I said it, I knew I was missing something.
I noticed that trustee Mark Matt is here. Do you want to share?
Yes, this is the collaboration between the town of Manlius and Renewable Fayetteville. Since we're having this event in the Village of Fayetteville, and we've really appreciated that collaboration. Last year, the library was an awesome partner, but unfortunately, they're doing some construction that's going to make that very grassy area perhaps very muddy, depending on how things shake out. It might not have been, but when we needed another venue, the Village of Fayetteville was very helpful in collaborating with us. The one thing we're worried about is the parking. If we end up having 1,000 cars there, that's people trying to access the event. So we're encouraging people to walk, bike, or park at Town Center. We'll have a bus stop for the electric bus, not a chauffeur, but a shuttle. And then we'll also have one in the town of DeWitt at Ryder Park. So the town of DeWitt is collaborating with us to encourage people to bike from their location. And you can along the Erie Canal Trail and along the Peter Canal. So yeah, it's huge. This event's getting bigger and bigger every passing day with the new ideas that come to my email. So very excited.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Thank you, everyone.
I just had a request from the town clerk to move number 9 up. So this is the Muirfield drainage assessment. I believe we have Joe Bianchi from MJ Engineering here to give us a little bit on that.
So as you may recall, the Muirfield, it's called a drainage district, but it's a water management district. And we have been deliberating with regard to needed maintenance of this area for a few years now. And we requested that MJ Engineering and surveyors do an analysis, and which they have now done, which is available in your agenda. It's very long, but it's the first 13 pages that matter. So
It was really good. I could really like read and understand.
So Joel's going to give us a little explanation of that and discuss the options that were presented to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen. And I'm not seeing it here. Give me a second here.
Can you open up the advanced sharing items?
Oh, there we go. Okay. Which one is there?
That's working.
So you can see that, correct?
Yes.
All right, so let me get this set up properly. Ugh. Slideshow. From the beginning. Okay, so everyone can see that.
Yes.
All right, so as Councilwoman Bollinger had indicated, we had been working through this for a bit. And we had delivered a draft report to the town last week, and this just sort of summarizes what we had done so that the town board can decide whether you want to move forward with one of the 4 options that we presented. So the goal of our study was to address some noted deterioration of the underground vault to permit ongoing maintenance. And for the rest of the board to understand what sort of precipitated this was over the summer, Rob was intending on cleaning out the vault, and he wanted us to take a look at it. And we did a cursory assessment of the vault and noticed that the top of the vault, the top of the vault is constructed of a concrete plank system. And we noticed that the concrete plank looked like it was in an advanced state of decay or deterioration. And actually one of the walls looked like it may have started to collapse because it was listing and the top was not evenly placed. We had talked to Rob and we said, we had concerns that lifting those planks may result in them cracking or completely failure, and then you'd end up in some sort of emergency situation. So as we talked through what to possibly look at, we said, all right, the options would be replace the vault as it is, but then there was a discussion of, hey, why don't we explore a phased rehabilitation that would possibly benefit the residents and or expand the operational capacity of that retention system. So what we looked at is, again, we looked at and assessed a phased rehabilitation of the retention system, which was replace the vault in kind, possibly enlarging the vault, adding a forebay at the inlet, and then expanding the surface storage area. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on each one of those. So for those of you that don't know, the Murfield retention system is at the northern end of Murfield Drive. It was constructed as part of the Murfield subdivision. The residents along Murfield Drive are in a town drainage district, but the detention system actually serves a much larger watershed that sort of extends to the south and the southeast. Everyone, from what we understand, everyone beyond Murfield Drive is not in the town drainage district. So just to give you some understanding or makeup of what the system is composed of. Again, it was constructed, I believe, in 1982 when the subdivision was built. It's a combination of both an above ground, basically graded basin, and then there's a below grade vault that's constructed of gabion walls, which are, if you drive down the highway, you think of those baskets with stone in it. Those are the wall system, and then the top is merely concrete planks. And I believe in talking with Rob, when this was built, the contractor had the materials left over for maybe a bridge construction. It's like a bridge deck, and they served a good purpose of providing basically a cover for the vault so no one would fall into it. The vault actually lays on karst geology, so it promotes infiltration. In talking with Rob, the last time maintenance was done on the vault was around 2013, and that's where they pull the vault, the planks off the top, and they will either vac out the sediment or excavate it out. I think Rob gave us photos of an excavator just pulling that sediment out, so the thing continues to operate more efficiently, because as sediment builds up, it really decreases the ability to infiltrate runoff. So as I indicated, that we believe that the current condition of the vault, specifically the planks, would really prohibit a safe cleaning of that vault. So that's what led to this study. So there were prior studies done. Miller Engineering did a very comprehensive study in 2020. And it didn't include improvements that not only looked at the Murfield retention system, but it also looked at the upgradient drainage area. And those five, I would say five major improvements were increasing the capacity of the Murfield retention system. Some of the ideas that we're presenting are very similar to what was presented then. Looking at replacing the entire storm sewer along Murfield Drive to meet a specific design storm. And all those pipes would be perforated holes, think of a septic system, where runoff would not only pass through the pipe, but also would have an opportunity to infiltrate into the subsoil to sort of get you a little bit more capacity. There was also a recommendation that any existing pipe that was less than 12-inch in diameter would be increased to at least 12-inch, if not larger, based on carrying capacity. The principal reason to do that is anything less than 12-inch becomes very difficult for town staff to ever have to maintain or flush them. So that was a good idea. There was also a notion, I spelled overland wrong, sorry, to improve some overland flood routing. For those of you familiar with the area and talking with Rob, the residents on Murfield Drive on the east side, at one time there was a very well-defined open drainage, I guess, drainage ditch that ran behind the lots. So 1982 was when it was constructed. You know, you tack on 30, 35 years and things happen. Leaves get put back there, overgrowth. So the ability of that drainage swale that's reportedly in a town easement to continue to function properly has probably really decreased. And then one of the other major items was installing an infiltration system on a paper street that's on Murfield Drive about midway down. So the cost in $2020 was $400,000 for that system. And from that study, and it was only 3 years ago, none of those improvements were advanced. I believe, you know, there was some cost limitations on it. The drainage district may have not had the ability to front that cash. So I guess those improvements were sort of set aside. So when we did our assessment on those four, we looked at the four options. So option was replace the vault in kind. It would be different construction. We would do a precast concrete structure, more robust top with an access manholes so that if you had to do maintenance, you wouldn't have to pull the planks off. You would pull a manhole, and there's easy ways to vac out that sediment, and that cost $144,000. Option two was replacing or enlarging the vault. The benefit that did was when we looked at various storm events, there was a decrease in outflow from that basin, you know, for certain events. For the 10-year or the 100-year, there was a noticeable decrease in outflow from that basin. The cost for that increase, to enlarge the vault, roughly 30 or 40%, was $240,000. So then when we looked at option three, which was one that Rob was, I think, a big advocate for, and it does make absolute sense, was to look at installing what we call a stilling basin or a forebay. Right now, what stormwater does is it enters a structure right before the retention system and then directly discharges into the side of the vault. And if we were to sort of modify that piping system where it went to an open forebay before it went in there, it tends to save the periods of time in which the town would have to do maintenance. Instead of that sediment-laden runoff entering the vault directly, it would enter an open basin, filter out, flow overland, and then flow into the vault. That would prolong the periods between when you would have to do maintenance, and it actually is a little bit easier to do the reoccurring maintenance by just removing sediment from the stilling basin as opposed to from the vault. That option is $48,000, but that option would have to be coupled with option one or option two. Reason being is by modifying the pipe arrangement, meaning the pipe enters the sidewall of the vault, we want to extract that. You would want to couple that with option one or option two. So option three is $50,000 in loose numbers, and you add on the cost of option one or the option two one. And then the last option was to look at expanding the vault as well as the open basin. What that does is that decreases the outflow by 100% for the 10-year storm event and roughly 40 to 50% for the 100-year event. And that's the most costly one at $332,000. The one thing that we do want to emphasize is, you know, what this does is it benefits what I would say is down gradient properties the most. Because currently it's sort of overland flows to the west and it sort of flows to the west and then goes north through the school property. Option 4 really sort of redirects that flow to where it went prior to the T construction of the road at the end of Murrayfield Drive and tries to put the drainage back to where it was historically. But again, it doesn't really benefit any of the upgradient residents that may have experienced flooding that is periodic. It's really to benefit long-term down gradient and minimally, you know, if the town was to go with option 1, it actually replaces what is a system that is in need of repair. And if you want, I can show some really quick schematics of what they look like. So
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
I'll stop sharing and then I will try to reshare again.
So do we know what the current balance is for that drainage district?
$269,000.
So we would be a little off the option number 4, but there's some room there.
For option 3,
What?
for option 3 too.
In conjunction with 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, 1, you could do 1 plus 3, but then that would be the question, is that enough?
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, you thought about this, right? Or you want to consider it a bit more?
But let's look at the. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so real quick, this would be basically replacing the vault in kind, you know, with the blue line being sort of the general outline of the top of the basin. Then the second option where we expand the vault, it's basically just making it larger by about 30 or 40%. And then we would look at the third option, which is this sort of 4-bay that we would install, or the stilling basin. And then the last option is basically adding all the other 3 options, expanding the open basin and redirecting the runoff over to here. Because when I spoke earlier, there is a somewhat defined swale that extends to the rear of these lots all the way down to the intersection of the other town road. Currently, it goes this way, but we probably would, the best case would be to redirect it back to where it was before this T intersection was constructed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joel.
So with that, that's, you know, the report was much more robust. But that's I think a brief summary of, you know, what we did, what the options are, and sort of what the town board may have to decide on what to pursue.
Sarah, do you have one that you're leaning toward recommending?
Well, I think one of the things that we wanted to do was engage the residents at Murrayfield Drive who requested that we do this, and make them aware. The way that drainage districts work is the residents who live in the drainage district will pay for whatever work is done. So they need to understand what they're paying for. And the money, we take a little bit of money every year, so we've saved up this $269,000. And what I was thinking was that we could do an assessment for January of 2024. There would be a more assessment for just the 1 or 2 years to kind of refund the district, and then go back to the lower amount that they've been used to paying, because so we could choose number 4 and just pay for it out of the taxes that would come in January of 2024. So that would be one of the options. So we could do any of the 4 options. We don't have to be restricted by the money. I think that the question of the 10-year flood, I think what we have been experiencing is that 10-year floods happen every 5 years now. So I think the 100-year, I'm not so much concerned about, but I think we should look at the 10-year numbers and say, is this a significant benefit at the 10-year level? That's probably the level we should fund, because it's not going to be less than that.
Yeah.
And it seems that they're going in the direction of heavier storms, where you would get more 3-inch and fewer 1-inch storms. So being prepared for 3-inch storms, I think, makes sense.
And do we know if this would be in any way eligible for any kind of grant funding or programs like that?
I don't know, Joe, is there any grant kind of money for this type of a project?
I think if I think there are, but I think we would have to assess the programs, because right now, probably in 3 months, the consolidated funding applications will be coming out. And in my mind, because they change the criteria every year, but I think there would be a reasonable potential where you could seek the GIGP funding, which is the green infrastructure, because there are elements of this project that are green, the Stilling Basin, the infiltration, you have you have a number of critical elements that would score well. But as you get into the design of the project, we want to balance not incorporating more than necessary where you start to increase the cost of the actual project, and those increases in cost do not equally keep pace with the money you would get. Follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I do think there are. I think, what you would do is the report we did would be a very good start to it. Because the funding that'll come out for GIGP is two things. There's funding to study it and then funding to build it. And I think this report, using past criteria for funding, could be, I guess, modified such that when those grant programs came around this calendar year, rather than go after the funding for the report, you may be better positioned to go after funding for the actual capital construction.
That would be good too, because I would imagine the amount of applications coming in for studying versus building are probably pretty heavily weighted towards the studying.
Yeah.
So, and do we know, in the district so this, I think, affects 60 residents. Do we know how many are in the?
60 total acres, right?
I thought I
Yeah,
saw that it was-
the watershed's like 60 acres. I'd have to look. I think there's probably on Murfield Drive, there's probably in the neighborhood of 20 homes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
District 2 is much bigger.
Yeah.
So the drainage district is much larger than this neighborhood.
Yeah, so we.
Yeah.
It's actually was over towards.
So I'm trying to remember from the mailing, it was like 900.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good sized district, so, like I said, keep in mind, there's a lot more, obviously, drainage structures in that district.
so that might.
So it's sort of like draining the entire fund for the one.
Yeah,
one
one big
district.
That being said, though, if we were gonna do that and we went with an option that minimized maintenance, gave us a long-term solution. It's, in the same sense of how it is with the leasing the sewers to the county, in that, as things age out over their lifetime, every project has an opportunity to be attended to. And if this is the project for, a few years, if it buys us a lot, a very long length of service and minimal maintenance, I think that's really the question is.
And I think we need to understand that the vault is going to collapse if we don't do anything.
Yeah, and then we'll be in an even worse
So
situation.
then we have an emergency repair. So
Tim just looked up at 700.09.
Look it up.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Ann. 709 parcels. That's a lot.
So a
of
little,
acres.
a little less than 10% effective.
So it's really misnamed, isn't it? Muirfield Drainage.
No, the official name is drainage.
Yeah. All right.
So anyway, so thank you, Joel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna speak with the residents. I think if we decide to go, we were thinking that we wouldn't have enough money to do it in the current year anyway. So what we would plan to do is bid it now for spring 2024 construction. And if we apply for CFA funding, we would know in December if that was coming or not. And we don't know in time to make the budget, but we would know before.
But either way, we're gonna find the best decision, and if we can get additional funding, great. And if we can't, we'll still have a solid plan moving forward so that we don't sit on this any longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is.
And my one, as you talk about theoretical schedule, if the town, Sarah, did I hear that you would look to bid it in 2023 or 2024? And
We
then,
were bid it in the fall of 23 for construction in 2024.
all right, so just the one thing I would want to caution the board is if you proceed with bidding and then getting the funding would only be additive to you to help your cause, but if you didn't get the funding, you would still proceed.
Yes,
If you were to get funding, any state funding has the bells and whistles to it. So you would just want to be careful. Don't bid it and then have an application, and then all of a sudden you bid it, and you get bids in January, then you find a week later that you get the funding, you'd have to physically rebid the project because of the funding criteria.
Right, you have to make sure, just.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
So then we might have to wait a little bit to bid it.
So we'll
and
have to
then
be careful.
Find out, if we're funding, but anyway, we'll come up with a solution and get it as soon as possible.
Any other comments from your dog?
I got a huge Great Dane that wants to be fed.
Okay, any other questions? Anything on that? I think we have a pretty solid plan.
Thank you, Joel. The graphics were very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joel.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
So back to 7.
Yep, back to 7. So we've got, we're gonna have to set a date for a work session, as I was talking about before, for the draft comprehensive plan.
So I would like to make a motion to set a date for the town board work session to review the draft comprehensive plan. The town of Manlius on April 12th at 5 p.m.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And I do want to just mention as part of this, that there is a public workshop about the comprehensive plan on Tuesday, the 28th. Here from 5 to 6:30 is a wander about discussion, talk to things, look at posters. At 6:30 is a public hearing with the steering committee for the comprehensive plan. So it's not the public hearing with the board, it's a public hearing with the steering committee. They will take the input they get and refine the draft based on that, and that's what they will submit to the town board.
And that's what we'll be looking at in this work session.
On the 12th? Yeah, town
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
The
So-
village of Fayetteville is doing theirs on the 27th. So FYI, so don't get confused. You're doing 2 nights of comprehensive plan excitement.
We'll also be setting similar structure for the climate action plan in coordination with the comprehensive plan. So if you're interested in planning, we have several events for you to attend.
So anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We've got an update on the engineering letter of interest. What we've got is we're scheduling those interviews now. We've got a team for the first round of interviews, and so we're excited to see what's presented to us and continue those conversations. Okay. We took care of number 9, so number 10, neighborhood sidewalk program.
Hold on, let me just get that up here. Okay, great. Let's see. Okay, hi, everyone. I have been thinking about how we can build sidewalks in our town since 2020, when students from Eagle Hill came to the board to present their idea of adding sidewalks to Enders Road. Over time, it has come to me that instead of our board trying to build sidewalks, we really need our neighborhoods to organize support for sidewalks and then come to the town board for action. So I've been working on this plan with the Sustainable Manlius, and I'm very excited to present the details of the neighborhood sidewalk program to the board and to the public for any additional feedback before moving forward. Okay, so the goals of the neighborhood sidewalk program are no matter what road you see in the town, somebody walks there. Well, we need to make it safer for pedestrians to walk through the town of Manlius. If we improve pedestrian mobility and connectivity to transit options, we increase use of an alternative form of transportation, which can decrease traffic and our carbon footprint. By connecting our schools, parks, villages, and businesses, we'll have a healthier Manlius by improving residents' health and helping businesses. So how can we achieve this? The first step is to create sidewalk special districts. The town of Manlius includes different types of special districts that provide services for those who live in the district. Examples of special districts we have in the town are fire districts, lighting districts, water districts, drainage districts, etc. The purpose of the neighborhood sidewalk program is to create a sidewalk district, which will allow the town to then move forward with building sidewalks. Okay, so this is a simplified version of 9 steps that I've come up with to create a sidewalk district. Now I'm gonna go through them. Okay, 1, we encourage you to meet with the town supervisor or board member
I'm losing my spot. In order to create a sidewalk district, you will need the town board support. So meeting with the town supervisor or a town board member to assist you with your application will make sure that you know everything that is required to apply and will give you a first sense of whether your projects will meet the criteria we are looking for. Step 2, if your project looks to meet our criteria, residents will need to organize and collect petition signatures from their neighborhood. To complete an application, we will require 65% of property owners to be in support of the project. 3, once your application has been verified by the town clerk and assessor, you will be scheduled at a future board meeting to present to the town board. Step 4, if the town board is interested in the proposed project, they will have the town engineer draft a map, plan, and report. This report would include who would be included in the sidewalk district, an estimation of costs, and grant opportunities. 5, once the map plan report is completed, the town board will schedule an informational neighborhood meeting to discuss options and costs with residents. 6, the town board would then hold a public hearing. 7, once the public hearing is held, the town board can vote to create the district subject to a permissive referendum. 8, if no petition for referendum is filed within 30 days and the state comptroller approves our district, the town board resolution becomes effective and the new sidewalk district is formed. And then 9, the town and the residents would apply for grants, set up funding, and go out to bid for the project, which sounds simple, but it's going to take a while to get there, and then that's a whole other step in itself. Okay, so what are we looking for? What are our project criteria? These are the things I have listed. Safety, of course, is extremely important. We will be looking at safety, increasing safety for pedestrians. Trip generator, so when walking becomes an alternative form of transportation, that's always a bonus. Land use, linking residential, commercial, and office use, looking at higher density versus lower density. Neighborhood cost share, what that is just looking at what grants are available that the project could qualify to reduce that overall cost for the neighborhood. Construction feasibility, looking at geographic constraints, adequate right-of-ways, old easements that we would need if your road, some of the town roads you own all the way to the center line, and so we would need easements in order to do this project. And then public support. Again, the town board will require 65% of property owners to be in support of that project to even look into creating that district. Okay. So this is what an application could look like. It's really small. This is on our agenda, so you can look at this. You can look at the form. You can look at the presentation. It's all on our agenda. So this is the form you would go over when you meet with the supervisor or a town board member. And I just wanted to note, and I want to make sure everyone on the board is aware that there is a spot in the application saying, who are you working with on the board? So that way we know whose project is.
That's great.
Okay.
I'm very
Like a
helpful.
sponsor. Like
Yes.
your sponsor.
Yeah, otherwise it just gets lost in the shuffle.
Yes. And so that's it. And then this is an example, which is not gonna be really hard to see there. But this is just an example of a petition form. And so we would provide a lot of this for residents, so to again, make it as easy as possible to go over those steps with you. So you know what you need to do to bring it to us. So that's just an example. This is an example of past grants. Again, I don't know like what would qualify us for these, but I just wanted to give an example. Our goal is to apply for grants to support these projects. TAP is an example of a past grant that was available for sidewalks, and we would watch to see if this is funded again. And then we are supporting this program with ARPA funds to offset the initial cost of creating a district. So these costs currently for the sidewalk district would include the application fee. So right now, when you apply to create a district, I believe it's $800 to apply. and then to the engineering costs to create that map planner report. And so right now we're offsetting those costs with ARPA, and we've set aside $75,000 to do so. If we didn't do that, those costs would be charged to the district if it was one.
And I know that's been probably the hardest part of this is in order to have to create a district, you have to pay for it. And so it becomes this chicken and egg scenario. Whereas that ARPA money that we've set aside is really there. Think of it as almost a grant to get the project moving. And by having that behind a requirement of 65% of the proposed district, it really gives us the confidence that it's a project that will be supported and that money is well spent.
Yeah, and then it also gives us just information too, so we can just start building, like, well, this didn't go through because, you know, this happened, or it does create some history that we can build for future. Because sometimes you do need to do a study for different grants, and we can use these different smaller projects to show that we've been looking into it, hopefully. So, and then I just wanted to go over some, what I think would be frequently asked questions. So the town would own and maintain the sidewalk. The town would arrange for snow removal. Only the residents in the sidewalk special district would pay for that project and the maintenance. And the snow removal. Who decides who decides who is included in the district? The town board does. So we do get to decide who would be included. And then what if the town doesn't own the right of way? So if we don't own the right of way, we again need the neighborhood's assistance to obtaining the necessary easements for the project. So we would, in those meetings, those very first meetings, look at the road where the project's located to see, is there easements, is there not easements? Because then there's another additional step. If we don't own the easement, to obtain those easements. So you would want to petition those neighbors first. So that's that, and that's everything. So this was just my first presentation. I wanted to make sure everyone is aware of the details, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, share them with me so I can make any additional changes before bringing the resolution back for a vote. So does anyone on the board have any questions?
Ooh, it just like literally brings a tear to my eye.
I think it's very beautiful.
Oh,
And
thank you.
like easy to follow with the graphic.
And I think, just to kind of give a little bit more background, I know we've had a couple presentations about potential sidewalks. And there is some frustration because you have some folks that may or may not be close to the villages. And villages are in a great position to be able to put sidewalks wherever they'd like, as they are all one essentially special district. The reason that the town needs this 9-step program is because we don't have that authority as a town. We actually have to create this special district. And because of that situation where you need to basically fund the district before you can create it, that's the hurdle that almost every time you run into. And so this would be a really great opportunity, especially coming alongside the comprehensive plan and making sure that, you know, we're reacting to a lot of the feedback we've had over the last few years. And I know there are a couple neighborhoods where we've got some very passionate folks that are going to be very excited to see this and get right to work, you know, as soon as the snow has gone a little bit more, to go start collecting those petition signatures. We've got a lot of people that are very excited, and that's really the core of this. And, you know, the reason I think, you know, we've all been so excited to see what Councilor Denton's put together is this is the community directly organizing itself and delivering what they are looking for with a consensus to the town board to operate on that. So this is taking it out of the hands of the town board to say, do we think the neighborhood wants it? Do we not? This is the residents directly telling the town board, we have 65% of the signatures to create this district, therefore create the district with the confidence that it will actually be formed and money won't be wasted. So really excited to see this.
So I do have a question. If there are multiple homeowners listed on a home, do you need just one signature or all signatures?
You just need one signature. So that's in our, so there's a text of the whole program, and in there, I believe it says we need at least one it's just one property owner's signature. Yeah, okay. Checking with the attorney.
Great. Well, thank you.
Great. So again, questions, comments, bring them to me, and then I can update this if anything needs to be adjusted. And if not, I might just bring it back at our next meeting to vote on it.
Okay.
Would we do a public hearing for something like this?
So it's just a resolution, so as far as I know, we do not need to, because it's a program.
Just to set up the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can, I don't have a strong feeling that there's gonna be a lot of changes to this.
Yeah.
But, if we're gonna look at it, consider it in the next meeting, which is, 3 weeks away instead of 2 weeks away. Can we just make sure that this program goes out on social media a little bit so that we can say, if you would like to have a comment, and we'll share the link for the website where you can share those comments.
Okay.
Just that way, because, we might as well get it out there, and then hopefully too, if people are interested in supporting the project, they'd come to that meeting and maybe speak at open podium about it.
Okay, I mean, either one, 8th, 12th, or the other one, but because there's 3 weeks away and spring's coming, I know.
Yeah, I
people are
feel,
gonna want-
I feel like the sooner we get these
Okay.
petition sheets ready to go, the better.
Maybe if you could, you just took it down, but that process slide,
You
you could send that
Oh, I
to
can put it back on.
Allison for posting, with just that one slide would tell the story pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
There it is.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Okay, so next up, we have to set a date for a public hearing for a draft local law to establish a planned use district. So just some background on this. We've got a potential site that is very ambitiously trying to put a pretty interesting development together. And the current constraints of the zoning and the codes are showing some roadblocks. And so what this PUD local law would allow the town board to do is work with developers directly, work with the community to develop kind of a new set of rules for a particular development so that we can directly action on what we've learned through the comprehensive plan. Just a need for housing, a need for affordable housing to take care of our seniors and other folks in town that need those options. Potentially exploring things like having mixed use to promote walkability and connectability, and also kind of, moving in that direction that we've heard so much, that people want this compact, concise community where they can walk around and has that character. And so in particular, I'm really excited about this. We've been having some really great conversations. I've been talking with some other folks. We've been talking to folks at the county about this potential project. And so this local law is just enables us to have a conversation about these PUDs. And so, like I said, we're gonna be setting a date for a public hearing. So I encourage folks. It is I think, very readable as far as town code goes. I think it really shows how, when we hear from the community that we want development like this, and then, we usually say, well, we can change the zoning, and then it's, up to the developer. This is gonna give us a real opportunity to work as partners with developers to make sure that we're seeing development that everybody wants.
Would you like to make the motion, Sarah?
I had a question.
Yes.
So I just because I read the zone, so this is just enabling us to have the zone, and then if someone was interested in a PUD, then like if we wanted to require affordable housing, anything about like income, all that would be in the
District
separate
plan.
Yeah.
district.
Yeah. The
And we-
specifics of the district plan, or opportunities that come up, we would work out separately.
And we've had some pretty extensive conversation about what that can look like. And so we understand, what can we require, but then we can also have conversations about if there's additional grant funding, so we can require some amount of affordable housing, for example, or walkability.
Yeah.
Using the levers that we have, whereas we can also put in there to say, we would like this higher goal, assuming we can get grant funding or some other assistance. So we can always do our best to get to a minimum and then even have a further goal so that we can, really push as hard as we can to encourage developers to build what we're looking for.
And I guess in future reference, we don't have to do this right now, but if there was an example of a PUD in a different municipality, if we could share that, that would be helpful for.
Martin and Lejudas has some that they can send us from other communities, and Tim has worked on some that we can share with you.
Okay, that would be helpful.
I just had one question on it. I think it's fantastic and I'm eager to hear the public's input on this. I think it's a great step forward on section development district plan application requirements, part G, the fee and escrow clause. I just had, it's not an answer we need tonight to figure, but I was wondering what the calculus will be for that. Is it a proportion, a percentage of the project budget or what?
So for, this is both the fee and the escrow, so it would be, yes, a portion of, the fee would be a set fee to administer.
escrow
The escrow would be a
But the escrow would
proportional
be
to the
would
project.
be proportional to the project. We usually talk to the engineer to get a sense of how much that's going to cost to review the district plan. And That's what the basis of it is.
Works for me.
So again, just to clarify, the law tonight is around the umbrella ability to have a PUD. The individual developer's project would be individual for each time.
So this would be added on, like, under. Like industrial, like where.
Yes.
So there's-
It's like where we had the overlay district.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So I've listed 5 districts
Mhm.
under which the
Yeah.
PUD could be authorized.
Okay.
Commercial,
CA,
commercial,
CA.
commercial.
R5,
AV.
CA, CB, RM, and industrial.
Industrial.
So those are the districts where we would want to see this type of development for commercial, retail, mixed use, affordable housing. General.
And just to clarify for residents, not R1. So if you live in your subdivision, we're not bringing a PUD there. So.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to refer the proposed local law to amend the town code that would authorize a planned unit development zoning district in various zoning districts in the town and setting forth rules and regulations for site development in the PUD to the town planning board and to the Onondaga County Planning Board as set forth in the resolution prepared by the attorney for the town.
And I will second that one then.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So that's the referral part. Are you in a position tonight to set the date for public hearing? You want?
I think we were looking at the calendar and, I think
we're.
it's expedient of us to set the date, especially given that we have an extra week before the next meeting.
Right.
That being said, if people feel like that is moving quickly and they want more time to understand this, we are not shy about holding things open to collect more information. But we would like to have a really productive conversation in 3 weeks. As we should be able to hear back from both of the planning boards and really have a pointed conversation about the validity of this.
I'd like to make that motion then to set the date for the public hearing on this matter for April 12th at 6:35 to consider the proposed local law that would authorize planned unit development, zoning district and various zoning districts in the town and setting forth rules and regulations for site development in the PUD as set forth in the resolution prepared by the attorney for the town.
And I will second that motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, all right, so we've got a public hearing. So like I said, I think this is about a 12 or 13-page document, so residents that are interested in what this might look like, again, very digestible, I think a really interesting piece of legislation to look at. And if you can't make it to the public hearing, don't forget, you can submit public comments online. You can email townboard@townofmanlius.org with any feedback and especially for something like this, it's new. We want to try to find some examples, but this is a real opportunity to change the way development happens. We really are looking for that feedback. Very helpful, as the board makes these decisions, so. Okay, thank you. So we do have an addendum to the agenda. We have the 2 annexation orders.
So these are the final orders. We've already approved the annexations. These are the orders that are going to be required so that literally the boundaries of change. Would be changed.
And both-
as everybody knows, these are 2 residential lots. They're not these are not major or substantial changes. But it does, and the village will annex a portion of a private property into it. Or really sewer or real water.
Into Manoa, yeah.
So there would be 2 separate resolutions, one for the Grenier annexation and one for the Carriage annexation.
I'll make a motion to approve the order to annex approximately 4.57 acres of land owned by John and Linda Briner to the village of Manoa as presented by the attorney for the town.
I'll second. Sorry.
Second by Council Ben. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I'd also like to make a motion to approve the order to annex approximately 3.79 acres of land owned by Sharon Karen to the village of Manoa as presented by the attorney for the town.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. It's interesting to see that process too. Understandably complex, when you're changing the boundaries of a municipality. But happy to have seen that finally gone through and those folks are gonna get access to the services they're looking for. Okay, next up, approval of the minutes for March 8th, 2023.
Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the March 8th, 2023 minutes as presented for.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 6 in the amount of $487,010.01. And the winner this time is trash and brush.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. For motion to approve my January supervisor report.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the supervisor's report for January 2023.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And I'd make a motion to approve the supervisor's report for February 2023.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Before we adjourn, Mr. Supervisor, I do want to just remind everybody that fish stock is happening on April 5th at Green Lakes. Please attend. It is a great event.
It's it's intended to have lots of kids there, right?
Yes, and it is a family event as well.
I
And
saw
it
that
is free.
the town of DeWitt's April break camp
Yes.
has fish stock as one of their events.
It's restocking the fish or something, they call it, or they say stocking the fish.
And there'll be folks coming from the city of Syracuse and.
Yes, and so that's all over. It's a free event.
Any other business?
We want to do.
We'll do it for that. Okay, I will look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And I will second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.